Learn the latest January and summer transfer plans as marquee names such as Rafael Leao, Jude, Bellingham and Declan Rice are major targets Todd Boehly is looking to sign in the following windows to further improve and strengthen the squad. There is still money to burn. There is still money to invest in the squad, not only for the first team but the youth team, as well as structural changes that are happening behind the scenes at this point in time. So many more videos to come out, tons of things to break down. Hope you guys enjoy. Get involved in the comments, hit that like button. But before we get into anything, I want to get one big plug out of the way first. Right now, there is a new episode of the Last Fan Standing series on BetVictor's YouTube channel. I'm going to play you guys a brief clip now.
I haven't done this cover Liverpool for a very long time now. These narratives remind me a lot of Liverpool a decade ago when we'd scrape for top 4 or we'd finish in the Europa League places, and you're like, oh, you know, it's only 5 points behind Man City, but if we can just win this and win this.
And I need to keep things brutally honest and keep things real. I am more than content. I am more than happy at Liverpool's indifferent form this season. In my opinion, I kind of feel like they've lost that aura around them. I feel like tactically, a lot of teams have figured them out a lot more. I think that the loss of Sadio Mane hasn't helped things. I think that guys like Núñez need a bit more time to settle in as well too. I want to ask you guys this. Do you feel like Liverpool are still that top team, or do you feel like you've kind of seen them lose a bit of the power they once previously possessed in other seasons? You know, let us all know below, because I do feel like Liverpool are definitely there for the taking for this season. It's only my opinion. If you guys want to get involved, of course, there will be a full link to the episode in the card above and description below, so make sure you guys get involved. Now, I want to start things off by discussing the latest news currently surrounding Rafael Leao. These Leao reports continue to resurface, and it only makes sense because back before the window finally closed, we know that the final bid that we presented to AC Milan was set at around £87 million. And at the time, one of the main reasons behind why Milan, you know, not selling Leao during that period was because the bid came too late, and they're still hoping that they can tie the player down to a new contract. But with AC Milan currently, they also understand reality. They understand that if they're not able to get Leao to sign a new contract extension, they won't wait for his contract to wind down. His contract expires in 2024, and you'd imagine that with our interest and Todd Boehly's desire to bring in big marquee talents, big youth marquee talents if I'm being more accurate, I think Rafael Leao is definitely one of the X-factor signings I think our attack is sorely missing. Now currently AC Milan are considering life after Rafael Leao in case he does not of course commit to signing a new deal. At this point in time, they need reinforcements at left back as well as right wing. Theo Hernandez is currently out injured, and they don't have anyone good enough to replace him in those areas. And down the right wing, they have Salamakers as well as Junior Messias as well, who are, you know, decent players, but not the type of players down the right wing to really take Milan to the next level. Now, reports in Italy are strongly suggesting that we will be coming back in January to present an offer and continue to pursue our efforts to sign Rafael Leao. Now, as I said earlier, Milan are looking to tie him down to a new contract. I'll discuss that as this story is going on, but to continue on, Milan will have to decide whether they decide to sell Leao in January or in the summer. If they sell in January, that gives them about 18 months before his contract expires, which means that they could command even more money. But if it gets to the final 12 months of his contract, this gives us greater incentive to sign Leao for the price that we want to sign him for. But before we start to get carried away, you guys, let's understand where Leao and AC Milan are at in terms of contract extension talks. At this point in time, Leao and his team wanted a salary offer of around €7 million a season. It does seem like, based on the reports that came out today, Milan are more than happy to offer €6 million net, as well as bonuses potentially taking the overall salary to around €7 million per season, which is not too bad for AC Milan. However, the major hurdle currently is the fact that Rafael Leao still owes compensation money towards Sporting Lisbon. So right now he has a portion of his salary deducted, of course, to pay back the 16.5 million owed to Sporting Lisbon. Of course, Leao left Sporting Lisbon based on the fact that he felt he had mutual grounds to rescind his contract after Lisbon fans attacked a lot of players at Sporting Lisbon after a poor defeat. Of course, that was taken to court, and it was decided that Leao actually had no grounds to do anything. So Leao is currently hoping that if AC Milan, of course, can help his situation out, if they can find a way, of course, to cover the compensation fee money owed back to Sporting Lisbon, that of course could give them the advantage to be able to actually tie Leao down to a long-term deal. Currently at this point in time, AC Milan officials have been holding talks with Sporting Lisbon officials over renegotiating the compensation fee owed. AC Milan are currently hoping to reduce the amount. If they can do that, you'd imagine that that gives them greater incentive, of course, to pay their overall compensation fee, and that way Leao has peace of mind and can fully earn the maximum amount of money. But this really depends on whether Sporting Lisbon are happy, of course, to accept a reduced compensation fee, which in my opinion, I'd be very surprised if they were to do so. Maybe Milan could have like an incentive, maybe by, I don't know, agreeing to sign one of their players as well to, find a way to balance the overall cost in the books. That could be a way to do things, but at the same time, Leao has assurances that if we were to sign him, we'd cover his compensation fee. Sporting Lisbon get to earn the maximum amount of money. Mendes, of course, Leao's agent, and who seems to be like a very close correspondent now to Todd Boehly, he'd earn tons of money in agent fees, and most importantly, Leao could earn way more than the 7 million euros net per season at AC Milan. So right now, it comes down to AC Milan. Can they find a way, of course, to appease the contract terms that Leao wants? Because if they don't, Milan are already preparing for life away. And this is where reports do get interesting now, because there's two players they're looking at as a replacement for Leao, as well as the right wing. And this is where we have an advantage, and this is where things get very interesting, because they're looking at Christian Pulisic as well as Hakim Ziyech again as replacements for Rafael Leao. Now, earlier today, Christian Pulisic actually gave some words about the appointment of Graham Potter. He's excited. It's a fresh opportunity for him to win back his place. But realistically, if we continue to use this 3-6-1 formation, you've got Sterling and Ben Chilwell as the main guys ahead of you, potentially that left wing back spot. So it only makes sense that Pulisic, of course, would be considering his future away, and it seems like he is more than content with making that move to AC Milan, who are a Champions League club. On the other hand, Hakim Ziyech was very close to signing for Milan in the summer, multiple talks, but in the end, what stopped this deal going through was based on the fact that our valuation for Ziyech was too high, as well as the fact that the contract demands Ziyech wanted was way too much for AC Milan to be able to afford. So if the contract negotiations ends, there is a big opportunity here for us to be able to sign Leao. Not only can we offer players in this deal to bring the costs down, it does seem like Mendes is really pushing his client to move to the Premier League, and Leao is open to a move if he was forced away from Milan. He's not necessarily disappointed or angry at having to leave them. He is more than okay with leaving if he's really forced to. So I think this January is going to be incredibly massive, and summer as well is going to be big too. I've got hopes for this deal. I think that we have to sign like a massive marquee name. This segues in very nicely now to the final reports, and let's discuss marquee midfield players for the 23-24 season. Now, the story was first broken by Matt Law from The Independent, and Todd Boehly is looking to do big business in the next window in the summer, you guys. Declan Rice, Jude, Bellingham, these are the young profiles, the world-class potential players that Todd Boehly wants to see added to our midfield for next season. Now, before I even get into the reports, immediately it gets me thinking, if we're signing guys like this, it means that we're going to sell other players. So you're looking at guys like N'Golo Kante, you're looking at Jorginho, and you're probably looking at Mateo Kovacic, who's also had the same type of injury inconsistencies that N'Golo Kante has also had as well too. Currently, it seems like Jorginho's future is in doubt. The club are still deciding as to whether to offer him a new deal. In the case of N'Golo Kante, a contract has been offered, but it seems like Kante wants an extra year, and I'm hoping and praying that he gets that. Of course, in case of other midfield players, it seems like we are looking to move guys on now to replace them in the next generation, and this is where Rice and Bellingham really come into play. In the case of Declan Rice, his contract is expiring very, very soon. West Ham's season isn't going to plan currently. David Moyes, and I think his tactics are a bit mid, and I think he's not fully getting the potential of the attack that West Ham could have. Rice will get fed up and frustrated, and there's only so many seasons that West Ham can categorically deny him a move away, especially when his contract is also getting lower and lower every single season. It will come to a point where West Ham will have to make the sacrifice to sell Rice to earn big money for him, if they have any hopes, of course, of reinvesting that money back into their team. So I do think potentially if Rice is the main guy we turn towards, then I think we could get this deal over the line. And it's quite interesting because currently we know that Chalobah has been tested as a DM as a 6 and put his team during training sessions and of course friendlies recently. So it is telling you something that maybe the future is like a back 4 with a DM in front of that back 4. So this now moves us on to talk surrounding Jude Bellingham. Todd Boehly has a massive presence in this deal. Todd Boehly is looking to hold serious conversations with Bellingham's team, and he is actively and currently doing them. Now, based on reports, it's starting to feel like Bellingham is the #1 guy that we want to add to our midfield for next season. We've made inroads with Bellingham's camp to sound out a move and hopefully beat Real Madrid to the competition to sign a midfield player. Todd Boehly, of course, is actively holding the conversations with his team as well too, to kind of foster like a very good relationship to entice him to sign for us. Currently, the main competition comes from Liverpool and Real Madrid, with reports suggesting that Real Madrid are the favourites at this point in time. However, Dortmund have slapped on a 130 million valuation on Bellingham's head, which is serious money. But under Todd Boehly, you kind of get the impression that as long as it's the right player, the money isn't really an issue, and I think this is where things get very exciting. Now, realistically, we won't sign both Rice and Bellingham in the same window. That won't happen. I think it will be like this. If we can get Bellingham, there's no more Rice, and obviously if we can't sign Bellingham, then we'll sign Rice and a cheaper alternative. So right now, I want to give some thoughts and opinions. I think the valuation is absolutely crazy, 130 million, but realistically, I think under our new regime, as long as it's the right profile and candidate, they're more than happy to pay the fees. So I think this is like kind of like uncharted territory for us. And would I say Bellingham's worth the money? I feel like I might have to say yes, because what this guy is doing for his age, it's not normal. 19 years old, the majority in which he plays with is literally out of this world. You're looking at his body still, at 186 centimeters. I mean, he looks so seasoned physically. It's like he's been playing football for over 10 years, and he plays like he's been playing football for over 10 years. And the fact that his body will still continue to grow and grow and grow, this guy is easily playing 15 years for you at the highest level and even longer, based on just how he looks after himself and that maturity in which he plays with. Currently at Dortmund, he's been playing on the right hand side of a midfield 3 as a box-to-box mid, which is probably his like best position and best use of him. But at the same time, the guy is equally excelling, playing a lot deeper with a lot more responsibility in his game now, playing in a 2-man pivot. And I think when you have a midfield player that can do everything in midfield, it gives you so much tactical flexibility that you just can't really appreciate unless you have these types of guys. For me, Bellingham is one of those like rare midfield players that really dominates his position, that really dominates midfield. When you look at his heat maps, he is literally covering every single blade of grass on that field. It gives me a lot of like Michael Ballack comparisons, in the sense that Ballack was also a guy that can do everything in midfield, from a defensive role to an attacking role to a more balanced role. I was one of those guys that was constantly in the right positions at the right time to keep pushing his team further forwards. And the fact that Bellingham is doing this at such a young age and is quickly, like, I don't know if I can say mastered, but it feels like he's close to mastering being able to be that type of midfield player, I think speaks volumes about how he reads the game and how he thinks when he's playing the game as well too. I mean, a lot of times if you're in the right position to like push your team forward and influence, not only is that a net benefit of making your team better, but it means that you can like maximize your skill set to the highest degrees. You don't have to overcompensate anymore. Maybe like last season you had a habit of trying to be that like Gerard Dynamo in that sense, that was trying to do everything, and a lot of that came down to his Dortmund teammates relying upon him already at such a young age. But I think that now that his game is a lot more focused and condensed, and because he's intelligent enough to know when to do things at the right time, this is what makes the guy incredibly special. I mean, he's incredibly good at progressing the ball with his passing, as well as his ability to carry the ball and drive forwards. He influences the attack by knowing when to make well-timed 1-2s, which is really good at quickening the pace of the game and helping you play between lines even better. And of course, he has that technical part of his game on point where, this guy is super press resistant. He's very good in tight spaces. He knows when to move the ball. He can play long and he can play short, and he has a goal threat. He's regularly timing his runs inside the box. And for me, if he was to develop as like the box-to-box mid down the right-hand sides, I mean, I think this could be like a position that could potentially make him like one of those legendary players that rarely come along in a generation. But at the same time, playing deeper, the way this guy can physically dominate his opponents, I mean, as an overall package, it just doesn't make that much sense, to be honest with you guys, to do it at this young. I'm trying to remember comparisons of a guy who is this complete physically in terms of like his intelligence, his defending, his attacking, his ability to influence the midfield and dominate the midfield as well too. If we can beat Real Madrid with signing, maybe this is like the type of signing that we need to take us to the next level, because I'm looking at Man City and I think to really eclipse them, it's going to be, it feels a little bit impossible. But if we can sign the right players that can take us further forward, like your Leaos, your Bellinghams, etc., we can have a team that's not too far from challenging to be that top team in this country. And I think getting Bellingham for me would be the dream signing. I've got zero critiques in this game. I think it really is that good. And you guys, on that note, I'm going to wrap things up, keep things moving. Thank you for watching. I'm in EFC. This is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.